All right, welcome to Hoops Tonight here at the Volume. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope all of you guys are having a great week. Well, coming into the series, we were hopeful that things would be competitive, that they'd be interesting, and here we are after 3 games of the NBA Finals, and the Pacers are up 2-1, 2 games away from potentially stealing what would be one of the craziest NBA championships that I've seen in my time covering the NBA. I can think of nobody better to break this down with than Colin Cowherd, who's been kind enough to give us his time tonight and join the show. Colin, where is your head at after 3 games of the NBA Finals?
Well, the Pacers, and you and I had talked about this. The Celtics this year were better on the road than at home. Denver is the same team. Oklahoma City's not the same team on the road. They're not. Their bench players, their rotational players are young. That's the downside to youth. They are not the same team on the road. They're very vulnerable. Tonight they had 19 turnovers. They got really sloppy. I didn't think SGA ever got into a great rhythm. He did a great job coaching and prodding and poking his team. Um, but my takeaway is like tonight was a game that, in football, there's the old thing about you can steal yards and field position, and over the course of a game, you get better field position. I thought the Pacers, between steals, blocks, they had 11. Between offensive rebounds, stole about 8 to 10 points tonight. Just sneaky points. Like one of them is McConnell on the inbounds, I think from Caruso, steals that point. That's a huge, huge play, especially when you're the home team and the crowd erupts. And I just thought over the course of a game, just 4 or 5 baskets, either denied or provided sneaky points. And that's kind of the difference in the game. It was just, that game until the last 3 minutes, I didn't know who was going to win it. It was just a very tight game. And I think they deserve a lot of credit. Indiana's bench, Jesus. God, that again, bench at home, bench on the road. Mathurin, who starts sometimes for them, it reminds me a little bit of a little Westbrook. Westbrook was hyper athletic. Mathurin was a quarterback and a hockey player in Canada, goes to Arizona, as you know, crushes it. Super athletic, but not as out of control as Westbrook. Like he's going to be a great player in this league. But I guess that's the Pacers, just a lot of blocks and steals and effort points, and that's the ball game.
Yeah, I had my eye on Mathurin and McConnell in particular off of the Pacers bench coming into this series. Not because I'm an Arizona fan, although obviously it's been awesome watching those guys just kill it. 28 points in an NBA Finals game. That is like a real feather in the cap for a young
Yeah.
basketball player. And honestly, like I've had a lot of mailbag questions and things like that from fans over the course of the last couple of weeks who've been asking, like, what's the next step for the Pacers? Like, where's their next leap? And it's that kid. It's him. It's
Yeah.
him becoming,
No
by age
question.
25, 26, an all-star level guard.
Yeah, and I said this, and I don't know if you and I talked about this. Oklahoma City's got more depth, but there's this sense that okay, Oklahoma City's talent's here and Indiana's is below, and I'm like, I don't really buy that. I think McConnell, I think T.J. McConnell's a really really good basketball player. I think Mathurin, who started some games for them this year, he was like their third or fourth leading scorer. He's exploding. We all know that Siakam and Hallie are great. Miles Turner's defense in the second half was unbelievable. Like, I don't think the gap in talent, especially when you go back home, I don't think it's that. Obi Toppin, his dunk, I put him up by 7, and then he got a block on the other end. Like, I think the talent disparity here is inches, not feet. I think Indiana's got a real team, and they have a lot of different players. Obi Toppin's hyper athletic. Miles Turner's a rim protector. Siakam's got a pretty touch. Hallie's more assist than scoring, but can do both. Neesmith can hit threes. McConnell's the spark plug. Mathurin's the young, emerging, hyper athletic guy. They got a lot of levers to pull. So I watched this. It's just fun watching this series. I'm like, at the end of the game, I'm like, does Indiana have more good players? They just pulled a lot of levers tonight.
I do think they're better down the roster in terms of just the level of like consistency they get from all of their supporting players. Like there's like I'm watching the end of the second quarter and like Ben Shepherd's out there and Mathurin and McConnell, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is Carlisle riding his bench in like what is
Yes.
typically a starting group session. I think where you see the talent gap between OKC and Indiana is like just that like top end shot creation. Like when things really bog down and both defenses are locked in, Shea is just so much better at like getting to his spots and finding those like shots that he can make. I do think that Oklahoma City at their best, their ceiling is higher than
Yes.
Indiana's. Like when they're
Yes.
moving the ball well, when they're knocking down shots. And
Yeah.
for the record, like if you're in a matchup like this where you're a substantial underdog, you're trying to create variance, you're trying to create margin. And all the stuff you're talking about, I agree with you. They won this game in the
Yeah.
margins. They won this game forcing turnovers, blocking shots at the rim, and ball pressuring Shea Gilgeous-Alexander so much that he looked exhausted by the end of the game. Like, this is all low-hanging fruit in basketball that's available for basically everybody. Anybody can pick up the ball full court. Anybody can be aggressive in rotation and play passing lanes. There's a certain athletic minimum you need to have, but anybody's capable of taking advantage of these margins. And to me, that's been the story of the Pacers this entire postseason run, is they have been so good on the margins. They're making it so that their variance is much lower than other teams because they're getting so much of that low-hanging fruit every single game.
So Oklahoma City is 2-4 on the road in the last three playoff rounds. So we have found the hole. You know, every boxer, every baseball player, even Barry Bonds when he was on cattle steroids, there's part of the strike zone he can't hit. Usually for a batter, it's on the hands. And we're looking for where's the hole in Oklahoma City's game. And it's this young team on the road. There is a great variance, what you get at home and what you get on the road. And we found it. And Indiana is a tremendously good home team. It's I got to tell you, Miles Turner doesn't get a lot of love. You know, his aesthetic, he'll hit the corner three. But that dude in the second half, I mean, Holmgren was great early, but Miles Turner is one of those guys that in the league, everybody knows about Miles Turner. I mean, if he's on the market, Lakers included, there'll be multiple Sooners for Miles Turner. Everybody in the league gets it. But on this team, you know, like tonight, we're watching McConnell and we're on Halliburton and we're always watching Siakam. I thought in the second half, I thought Miles Turner was huge. At the end of the season, there's only one team that can call themselves NBA champs, only one player that can call themselves the number one pick in the NFL draft. Well, there's only one electric SUV worthy of the title, the ultimate, the all-electric BMW iX. What I love about the iX is that it delivers legendary BMW performance. I've had several, while its sleek design exudes innovative style from the inside out. So not to mention how much space and utility it provides. Over 75 cubic feet of cargo space, the iX is completely changing the game with an all-electric SUV, okay? The greatest legends of sports never compromise any part of the game, so why would you settle for anything less from your SUV? After all, there's only one ultimate, the BMW iX. Everything you love about the ultimate driving machine, electrified.
I agree. The specific dynamic he struggled with a little bit in this series is Carlisle has him coming way out to the perimeter to show at the level of these ball screens. And the Thunder guards are just so fast that he's had some trouble containing them there. But in that second half, it was almost like he found his second wind to where he was moving a little better, so he wasn't losing contain as much. Carlisle had him start to be more aggressive and attack the ball in more of like a blitz too, which worked. He forced a couple turnovers that way. And then at the rim, like Miles Turner has always been one of the best like shot blockers in the league. He always racks up high shot block totals and got Chet at the rim. That closeout, he's got crazy length. That closeout on the 3-point shot from Chet late, that was a big one. The stuff with Mathurin and McConnell I find really fascinating. The reason why I was keyed in on them to start the series is when you're playing these young, super athletic teams like Oklahoma City, the guys that become super important are your athletes. The guys that have like some sort of physical trait that's tough to match up with. TJ McConnell is unassuming, but he is actually one of the very best guards in the NBA at beating people off the dribble. So he's immensely valuable in this matchup because he can get that first bit of dribble penetration that breaks down Oklahoma City's defense. And he's such a good staunch athlete, like in terms of like but being a fire hydrant, low center of gravity guy, he can pressure the ball and pick up full court. He had 3 steals on baseline inbounds in this game. Those were huge sequences in this game. And then Ben Mathurin, same sort of thing. He is capable against a very athletic Thunder team of getting to his spots and
Yeah.
rising up and knocking down shots because he's a supreme athlete that can handle
Yeah.
the ball. Nembhard is a good ball handler who's not a supreme athlete, and Neesmith is an elite athlete who's not a good ball handler. TJ and Ben are both great athletes and great ball handlers, and that's made them very valuable in this matchup. And again, like Ben, that like we just saw a young player put up a
Oh,
massive
yeah.
28-point game in a
No question.
must-win NBA Finals game. Like that is a huge moment for a young player there. And like as far
It,
as like zooming out and looking at the series, like I still lean Oklahoma City. We have seen before teams like, the series this actually reminds me a lot of is Cleveland in 2015 versus Golden State, where Golden State is clearly the better team, but they're young and they're inexperienced, and it's their first finals appearance, and they look a little shook from the environment.
yeah. Yeah.
And LeBron goes up 2-1 on them. Now, obviously, Indiana doesn't have the LeBron element, but there was obviously way less talent down the roster. But Indiana does have more veteran experience. They're an older
Yeah.
team, right? But what happens with Indiana here is they're up 2-1, but Golden State was the better team. They came and won game 4. Then they went home and won game 5. Then they went back to Cleveland and they won in game 6. I am going to give Indiana a good chance to win at least one more home game. So I do think this has a good chance to go 7, but I would still
Yeah.
make Oklahoma City the favorite at this point. Before I kick it to you, just so you know, the Thunder are still from DraftKings minus 230 to win the series. And the Thunder are -6 favorites in game 4. Where are you at in the series moving forward at this point?
Well, game sevens in Oklahoma City, and they're really good at home. And again, bench guys, rotational guys are different players at home. I mean, the Indiana's bench in the second quarter tonight was insane. I mean, it was literally, I think Carlisle was shook. It was just like, wow, that's one of their best quarters of the playoffs. Um, I think one of the things that was a little surprising to me, I thought Oklahoma City looked tired in the fourth.
Oh, yeah.
And now the first half, it was 64-60, I think. The pace was totally Indiana's pace. It slowed down as games can, situationally as the possessions get very, very big. But you noticed it too. I thought OKC looked a little gassed in the fourth. They had a bad fourth quarter.
Yeah, so that's the advantage of ball pressure. Like, there's been a lot of talk about the coverages. I have had my concerns with how they've used Turner because I think Turner's a very good shot blocker. So I want him at the rim. I don't think he's particularly fast, so I don't want him on the perimeter. So like I've wanted him sitting further back, but a lot of the full court ball pressure stuff has also had some downsides in that one of the things Oklahoma City will do is they'll have Hartenstein come out or Chet come out and they'll screen like almost at half court while Shea's battling the ball pressure. And then he gets a head of steam from like 60 feet away from the rim, and he got a lot of layups early in the game out of stuff like that. And so there's a downside to ball pressure in that you can beat ball pressure and get dribble penetration. The upside with ball pressure is in the big picture, which is for 48 minutes in front of that crazy home crowd when you're facing Neesmith and Mathurin and Nembhard and all these guys just in your jersey the entire game. Down the stretch, you just don't have the legs because beating that ball pressure just takes it out of your legs. And so there's no doubt that like Indiana played the long game tonight and Oklahoma City controlled at various points. But down the stretch, Shea had his hands on his knees. He was trying to grift a little bit more down the stretch, looking for foul calls. Like you can tell he was tired.
The other thing that, this is just something you don't talk about a lot. We don't, analysts don't. But I remember talking to Mark Warkentine. I covered him at UNLV with Jerry Tarkanian, and he was an executive in the league. And he used to always say the most underappreciated part of those great Michael Jordan Bulls teams was their length. He was like, Rodman was long, Pippen was long, Luke Longley was long, everybody but Steve Kerr was long, like Ron Harper. And he was just like, they just got their hand on the balls. Indiana is long. When Toppin, Siakam, Turner, Halliburton's long.
Yeah.
They're tonight, just to show you their length, OKC had 4 blocks. Indiana had 11. OKC had 6 steals. Indiana had 13. How many balls, how many times in this game did you see the ball loose around the free throw line and it was just a pacer that got their hand on it and keep when there are certain. I mean, TJ McConnell's obviously not long, but he's feisty and quick,
And he's
so he
fast.
gets his hand, and he's fast. But dude, when they've got Turner and Halliburton and Toppin, the length of the Pacers, and I thought it really frustrated OKC. Chet Holmgren had multiple shots blocked. So we don't talk a lot about that. Rebounding is a lot of things beyond length, but length gives you those extra possessions and touches and disruptions. Blocks and steals tonight, I mean, are just totally one-sided. And I think, again, that's stealing points, which I thought the Pacers did.
Yeah, like there was a play where J-Dub got a clean corner catch out of the left corner. You might remember this one in the first half. And or no, it was in the second half. It was in the early part of the second half. And J-Dub drove baseline, had a dunk. But Tyrese came over, and Tyrese has long arms. Like Tyrese has got length, to your point. And
he's the longest point guard in the league.
Yeah, and he's got reasonable vertical athleticism too. So he got up and he contested J-Dub, and J-Dub missed the dunk. He missed the dunk. And there have been a few plays in this series. Like I actually think Halliburton has been a very good defensive player in this entire playoff run. Like he's been sneaky really good because he's the thing with, and this is to Carlisle's credit, everyone's committed to doing the job. And then Tyrese like plays hard. Like he's got his limitations. He's not very big and strong, and it kind of looks like a chicken running around with his head cut off sometimes on defense. But like he's got the length to be impactful in that situation. And yeah, like there was a stretch there late in the game where Carlisle rides Toppin for that exact reason. Like him being able to go over the top of Oklahoma City on offense or meet somebody at the summit. At the rim on the other end, like those have been huge parts of Indiana's success throughout this entire postseason run. And again, like you want to know how you play passing lanes with length because all of a sudden it looks open, the passer makes the read, and it's not open because you have the ability to close that ground. The one thing I will say, and this is one of the reasons why I still lean towards Oklahoma City to win the series, there was a stretch in the third quarter where I thought Oklahoma City really leveraged their athleticism.
Yeah, they're a good third quarter team, too. They've done this in the playoffs multiple times.
Yes. And like going back, even I thought game 2 felt like the entire night felt like that. I don't think Indiana can beat Oklahoma City in Oklahoma City in a must-win game because I think they can leverage their defense and physicality and overall athleticism to the point that's like almost too much for them to overcome. So I think Indiana's pathway is they have to win the 2 home games. They absolutely can, for the record. I'm not saying Oklahoma City is like the surefire going to still win the series. I lean towards Oklahoma City, but Indiana, I think, has to win on Friday, and I think they have to win next week on Thursday. I think that's their path.
Well, in the first 6 minutes of the game, Oklahoma City was very disruptive. The Pacers were frustrated. The starters, they just weren't getting good looks. I mean, Oklahoma City, when they weren't gassed late, I mean, they're disruptive. There's no getting around it. They're just fast and long, and it's almost collegiate, like we've talked about. It doesn't look like other defenses. So, I just don't want to fall for this because I fell for it with Denver and Boston, and I'm like, oh, these are going to be dynasties. And there are holes in Oklahoma City. I mean, they'll probably lose Jalen Williams eventually. They can't pay everybody, and they're going to pay Holmgren because he's just he's just physically a different. There's not a lot of him out there. Mm-hmm. They're going to pay SGA, and you know how it works now. You can't pay 3 guys. Boston's going to go through this. So I mean, it's. I know a lot of people look at Oklahoma City and think, oh boy, this is going to be something. They're going to be bad for the league. And my take is this series is great. I mean, we have 2 of the games in this series have been all-timers. And I also think Indiana's a real team. I mean, I'm watching Mathurin tonight. And I think he's got a little bit of Westbrook, but he's not out of control. He's a little bit more refined at this age. And he was a better college player than Westbrook. Again, more defined. And I think he was the Pac-12 player of the year, if I recall. When he like,
I can't remember actually. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was a great player. Mm-hmm. But my takeaway, I watched him and I'm like, oh, they're gonna be good. Halliburton and him and McConnell and Siakam. It's like Indiana's going nowhere. This I don't know. I said this going back to the Cleveland series. I love watching the Pacers play. I love their style. I love Halliburton. There's something about a team. There's a joy when Indiana plays. They are having a really good time. And I think it just comes through the TV. If you miss the hard hits of football pads, faster play clocks, and nonstop action, this is what you need to be watching. Arena Football 1 on Vice TV. Football at full speed. The field's tighter, the plays are faster, the hits come quick. It's 8-on-8 Ironman style. No downtime, no let up. This Sunday, June 15th, the Southwest Kansas Storm face off against the Salina Liberty. Expect big plays and big scoring, real competition start to finish. Arena Football 1, Sunday at 6:30 Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Go to vicetv.com to find your channel.
I 100% agree. Like I understand some of the negativity surrounding the finals in the sense that like it lacks some of that juice for, especially for casual fans in the
Game
sense that it
two felt small.
doesn't have
Game
huge
two.
names.
Yeah.
And game two is super boring. Like, and it obviously has not been hitting great TV ratings, but there is a natural ebb and flow with the cycle of the NBA as stars age in and out. And we're definitely in one of those lulls right now. But I do think that the Pacers are providing an excellent showcase for another up and coming team in the Eastern Conference. By the way, the East is pretty wide open. Like you could argue Indy has every bit as good a chance to make it back to the finals next year as Oklahoma City does with how open things are in the Eastern Conference, right? I love the point you made about Oklahoma City. Like it will get tougher. Like I think Oklahoma City needs to get this one because the reality is that once you start to your point, if you pay all three of those guys maxes, and by the way, they're not going to be regular maxes. These are going to be all NBA players. They're going to be super maxes.
That's right.
Right. And so once you pay all those guys, they're going to basically have to surround them with a bunch of guys on rookie contracts. Like I think they're going to end up using all these draft picks they have to just cycle role players through. And they're going to be hunting like 3-4 year college guys that play for major programs like Kansas and Villanova that they can trust to come in and play role player basketball. That's what I think that they're going to end up. That's what I think Sam Presti's going to end up doing. And so their margin will get smaller because they won't be surrounded by as much talent. This is a particularly important series for them to win. But I wanted to move on to the Knicks. So I see this report this morning, and it's from Shams talking about how they're just calling up around all these big shot coaches in the league, Jason Kidd, Ime Udoka, Quinn Snyder, Chris Finch. What do you make of this bizarre behavior from the Knicks right now?
I'm not a tinfoil hat guy, but James Dolan, who's been in a band, I'm not sure if he still is, views himself as an artist. And that's why he is his greatest achievement is not the Knicks. I mean, he inherited the cable vision from his dad, right? It's the Sphere in Vegas, which is a remarkable. Have you been there? I think I've
been there 6 times, Colin. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, so it's a remarkable musical engagement achievement, all time in the world, and that's really where his heart is. Irving Avezov, a former great promoter, now I think he's MGM Management. Is one of his closest friends. He was. He was had a record label. That's who James Dolan is. So when he wants to get a GM, he goes after a star, Phil Jackson. Then he wanted Steve Kerr and Amari Stoudemire on bad knees out of Phoenix. And Tibbs isn't his kind of guy. So who does he go after? Jason Kidd, who's a star. He's interested in Kevin Durant, who's a star. That's who James Dolan is. He hangs around stars. He loves stars. He's a creative. This is not a criticism. But I think he listened to his players grumble. He sat down with his players. And again, he relates to artists and athletes and stars. Just go look at the history. And when he was doing the Sphere for 2 years, he was disengaged from the team, and they got very patient and very pragmatic and very basketball-y and very Villanova-ish.
Just went right up.
And that's Tibbs. And so you get rid of Tibbs, it's not the same culture. It's not the same team. You still have the Villanova guys, but it won't feel the same. So it just feels like James, and I almost, he reminds me a little bit of Jim Irsay in that Irsay would rather sit with his guitar and hang out with Dylan outside of football more than anything else. And I think James Dolan's a little bit of that. And I think he's an emotional guy. He's an artist. He relates to artists and he listens to his stars. And he didn't have a plan. And I think it's a big, big mistake. By the way, this is what every Knick fan dreaded, is that when he came back from the Sphere, he would get hands-on. And there are various reports on who has their fingerprints on this, but they're not getting rid of Tibbs. He just signed a new deal without Dolan, acquiescing to a suggestion or making the move himself. So in the end, this is what the Knicks, man, this league's crazy. Owners in the NFL and the NBA, that all owners now, Jason, are billionaires. It was 10 years ago they weren't. They were worth 600 million or 800 million. They wouldn't blow out staffs. They didn't want to write a $46 million check. That is a rounding error now to these owners. And I see it in the NFL all the time. Guys will just blow out staffs. David Tepper write a $60, $80 million check. The owners didn't want to do that 8, 10, 12 years ago. They do now. So I don't know who they're going to land. They've been turned down by 7 coaches, all the good ones, Finch and Ime Udoka and Jason Kidd, and they're just getting turned down by everybody.
Yeah, Matt Ishbia blew out his staff twice within 2 years of owning the team. It's completely ridiculous. It's fascinating because I tried to look at it in a very open-minded way because I actually do think Jason Kidd's a better coach now than he gets credit for. A couple of years ago, I wasn't super high on him, but he, just like anybody else as a competitor, has been doing it for a while now, and he's gotten pretty good at it. Looking at the Knicks for a second, I agree with you in terms of the kind of topsy-turvy, unstable nature with which you look and you portray to people when you fire your coach in a situation like this. But I also think Tibbs left some meat on the bone with this Knicks team. I thought they underachieved all season. Right out the gates, they underachieved. He brought in all this talent.
He's not a creative offensively. He's not. The team got very predictable offensively. NBA Finals are here. This is your last chance to bet on the NBA until next season. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official betting partner of the NBA. A finals to remember, pulling out all the stops. One team's going to be crowned champ. Who do you got winning it? Put your hoops expertise to the test. DraftKings has been the go-to spot for NBA player props. That doesn't stop now. All right. Try placing a bet in your personal MVP to drop 30 or 40. If you're ready to place your first bet, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Takes 90 seconds. Lock in your bets. Finish the season a winner. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers, all you have to do is bet $5. $5. You'll get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Don't miss it. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. The code is Colin, C-O-L-I-N. The code is Colin. $5 can get you $300 if your $5 bet wins. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours.
I thought the major issue with this team schematically was spacing, and it actually impacted both ends of the floor. On offense, what you're mentioning in terms of creative offense, like what he did on offense in terms of his creativity, the spacing for this team was extremely poor, which made life very difficult. But it had a trickle-down effect in the sense that poor spacing also affects your transition defense. If you don't have your guys situated in proper spaces on the floor, then on misses and turnovers, you don't have guys in position to be back in transition defense. And the Pacers annihilated them in transition, and worse than ever in game 6, embarrassing fashion in game 6 as Siakam and everyone else was just getting run out layup after run out dunk after run out layup. So I did think there was a defensible case to move on from Tibbs to more of a tactician. I actually see Jason Kidd as a solid option in the sense that he was a master of modern 4-out spacing with Luka when he was there, which actually I think is a really natural fit with Brunson. And Brunson played for Kidd before. So there's some natural stuff there. And then he did a good job with transition defense with the Mavs, despite them not being super athletic. So I'd give him credit for that. That would work. The thing there is it's just unrealistic. And if I'm Jason Kidd, why would I don't actually see the Knicks as that great of a job. Insane New York pressure. The roster is really good, but it's not amazing. It's not
oh, by the way, Mikal Bridges wants a new contract. OG's getting paid. Brunson's getting paid. Mitchell Robinson. These guys are getting paid. That Dallas thing, Lively's not getting paid. Cooper Flagg won't get paid. I don't know if Max Christie doesn't cost much. AD's getting paid, but you get 24 and 11. I look at Dallas and I'm I get excellence when they're healthy, and I get an incredible top end with Lively and Flagg. I know what the Knicks are, and there's a ceiling, and I see it all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I don't see it as being the kind of job that Jason Kidd would be willing to basically sabotage his situation and force his way there. And then the other names I saw, I didn't even particularly like Ime Udoka is a motivator. That's his primary role. I don't think that's a specific need for the Knicks. I think the specific thing the Knicks need is just someone to come in and take them to the next level in terms of their offensive organization and their spacing, which will lead to them having a bunch of additional benefits in transition defense. I understand there's a hesitancy to call a guy like Mike Malone. And the reason why is because he has a reputation for being a hard ass, and Tibbs was kind of a
Yeah.
hard ass. And like, I don't think they want to go down that route again. But there's like hard ass, and then there's Tibbs. Like, Mike Malone leaned on his starters big minutes, but still not even close to what Tibbs did. And one of the things I'll say about Mike Malone, he was an excellent defense and spacing coach. He made a championship defense out of non-championship defensive talent, and they were always consistently one of the best floor spacing teams in the league, and they were very good. And again, we gotta at least acknowledge Jokic was there, so Jokic makes it a lot easier, obviously. But he specifically was very good at making spacing opportunities out of non-spacers, guys like Aaron Gordon, guys like Christian Brown, guys like Bruce Brown over the years, guys like Russell Westbrook even. So like fitting a guy like Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, some of these non-shooting types of players, even Mikal Bridges, who has struggled a lot as a shooter in this postseason run. Like, I actually think Mike Malone is a really good fit for this Knicks team. I think he's a completely reasonable option that doesn't involve you doing something insane like calling around the league. Because here's what gets crazy. Let's say you call the Mavs and they're like, okay, sure, let's talk about Jason Kidd. What are you going to offer us? We already acknowledge this is not a championship roster. So you're going to give up assets for a coach? You need players. You need talent in there. So like, it's specifically defensive talent in your front court. So I don't really understand what the end game is here.
Yeah, I am on the short list of people that think Dallas is going to be really good, really fast. I think Flag and Lively are, they're Duke guys. They're going to be quick learners. They play at the highest level of competition collegiately. I think one's 21 or 22. He's going to be a rim protector for the next decade. So Cooper Flag can be out in transition, won't have to worry about being down low and getting jammed up, which has always been what LeBron loves. He doesn't want to be messed up in that junk. He wants he wants that ball out and up the court. So, and I just, PJ Washington, Christie, if Kyrie comes back, I'm not sure what they're going to do with him. AD, I would forget the taxes, forget everything else. I would not leave Dallas. I think Dallas is a good job. The situation that's fascinating to me is Houston, because I think right now San Antonio is about ready to pop. So I like San Antonio, and they could get Giannis, and I think OKC is set, and I think Houston's going to be in that group of three young teams a little lost, because Jalen Green, Amen Thompson's excellent, Sengun's excellent, but there's just a lot of athleticism that's not very good in a half-court game. And I think OKC has popped. San Antonio's going to pop. And if I'm Udoka, I would consider the job. I think Houston's one of those that, like the national media, we hover in, we drop in, we go, oh, like a Houston. I didn't like what I saw. I'll be honest. And I think you can push them around. I don't think they have a lot of half-court possessions that are just sort of lost. You don't get good looks. They look a little disorganized. But Jason Kidd, to me, the next 5 years in Dallas are going to be fascinating with just this trajectory that goes through the roof.
The roster is weird because it's kind of imbalanced in the sense that they just have an absurd amount of front court talent. Like you don't need Lively, Gafford, Anthony Davis, PJ Washington, and Cooper Flag. Like that's 5 starting caliber players that all play the 4 or the 5. So like I do see an imbalance there, but there's an insane amount of talent. And I actually go the other way there, which is like they can afford to go into training camp and just bring all these guys in and start playing and basically look around the league and be like, who's going to throw us the Godfather offer for PJ Washington, for Daniel Gafford, for an Anthony Davis? Like you could argue that AD is going to be the target that someone goes after. Because AD's hurt now, so he's got that classic, everyone's down on him. They think he's old. They think he's beat up. AD comes out of training camp looking like he's in great shape, motivated, kicks everybody's butt for a couple of months. He instantly becomes like a dude you could flip for an enormous mountain of assets. And so I look at Dallas as a very, very healthy situation moving forward. It's not the same Luka Doncic were right on the doorstep of the title, but they do have a lot of big picture potential.
Sorry to interrupt this great video, but please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you. Now back to the video.
Yep, so let's talk about Kevin Durant. We got a report from Shams today that Kevin Durant and his business partner, Rich Kleiman, are kind of canvassing the league looking for potential opportunities. The five names that were thrown out in the Shams report were the Houston Rockets, San Antonio Spurs, the Miami Heat, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the New York Knicks. Where did your head go when you saw that report this morning?
Well, I think he works everywhere. I think there's very few players that fit everywhere, and KD is one of them. He doesn't necessarily need to be the soul of the team. He doesn't need the ball constantly in his hands. You get great length, a willing defender, 24, 26. I I think KD fits everywhere. Um, if I was KD, I New York, I think he fits New York well, but Brunson has the ball in his hands. I mean, in his mind, is he thinking Brunson's got some Westbrook, like dribble the air out of the ball and I'm sitting in the corner? Like I could see him, like I've been through that. Kyrie, who he played with, also can be a little bit like that. So I could see KD just saying, because he's got the leverage here, I could see him saying, I've kind of done the ball-centric guard thing. I just don't want it again. Pat Riley and Spoelstra are very convincing people. Miami's a great place to play. No state tax. It's a winter league, a lot of warm weather. Like Miami's a really attractive place out east. But I'm a KD fan. I think he fits in a lot of places. And Minnesota, he obviously fits. And we've talked about this. Like LeBron in his prime was great, but he had to be the offensive ecosystem. Chris Bosh had to reduce, got marginalized. Kevin Love can get marginalized. Guys, get away from the rim. Go, Kyrie Irving, you can't have the ball. So Kevin never provides that kind of obstacle. Like he just kind of fits. So I can tell you this: if you were a GM and you talked to a coach or players, a lot of guys would raise their hands and say, "Get KD," because I think he loves basketball. He's a good teammate. He's got a good sense of humor. He doesn't need to be the media darling. I think he's really liked and respected in the league.
I 100% agree. I love the point you made about his fit. Like all five of these teams, the basketball makes a lot of sense. The one team that I was like, that doesn't make as much of a sense in terms of the basketball fit to me was the Spurs, because it's like, I don't love the idea of putting a super thin front court player that likes the perimeter next to another super thin front court player that likes the
Yeah, I
perimeter.
don't. Yeah,
I wasn't a huge fan of that one. It also just doesn't really fit San Antonio's timeline. So the Spurs one was weird for me. The Heat, I like the fit. I just don't know why KD would go there, because it just feels like another move to a team that's not good enough to win the title. Like I'm just not
yeah.
sure that is Kevin Durant, Tyler Herro, Bam Adebayo, is that enough to win the
No.
title? I don't think so.
When
But like
when I'm watching that kid Benedict
Matherin, yeah.
Mathern for Indy tonight. I mean, I'm not trying to overreact here, but when I'm watching him and I'm like, Jesus, he's just a kid. Like you're gonna get this 2 out of 3 games next year. Like this. I mean, by the way, again, I think wasn't he the 3rd leading scorer on the team or 4th leading scorer this year? Like he
coming into the series, he was actually the highest per minute score for the Pacers in this playoff run, because he was in a shorter role, but his like points per 36 minutes was the highest on the team. Yeah.
Okay, so I watch him and I think, oh, he's going to become a full-time starter, and it will be Siakam, Hallie, and Matherin are their 3 leading scorers. So I mean, I'm looking at the East and I'm like, I think Indiana's going to take a leap next year. They'll play with a finals level confidence. So I don't think and I'm not just saying this because they're up 2-1. I look at Indiana and I'm like, man, that is a team with, I mean, outside of, Siakam, he is what he is. If I feel like 75% of Indiana, all those players will be better next year. Siakam's game is his
They're
game.
better than they were last year.
Yeah, it's just like
All of them.
I was just so impressed with him tonight. So, we can start talking about with Tatum out next year. It's going to run through Indy. We got to be honest about this. It's going to run through Indy. They are deep. They're well coached. Most of their players are ascending. The East is running through Indy.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't see the Heat as like an obvious, like, oh, he goes there and he's all of a sudden the favorite in the Eastern Conference. I like the Rockets fit. I think his skill set is desperately needed as a guy who's a shot
Oh
creator that can
God.
shoot from the perimeter. He also brings length at the rim, which is not like the Rockets are a big, strong team. They're not like a long arms team. Like Jabari Smith Jr. is like the one guy they have that offers
The
real like
Rockets
length.
need him. Jason, I would argue the Rockets need him more than any other team that he would play for. They need him. Their half court offense gets lost a lot.
Yeah, and he would go in there and immediately vault them into top tier championship contention. So that move makes some sense. I will say by far out of these 5 teams, my favorite fit is the Timberwolves. It's a similar lack of redundancy in the sense that he brings kind of like exactly what the team doesn't have, which is a rock solid secondary ball handler next to Ant who can really generate shots for his team. But they can surround KD with elite super physical defense, which is what he hasn't had in these other destinations. And also similarly, Naz Reid, not super vertical. Julius Randle, not super vertical. Rudy Gobert is vertical, but like Kevin Durant would be a guy at the 4 spot, different from Cat last year, different from Naz, who brings real vertical length to the table, where you can imagine Jaden McDaniels, Kevin Durant, and Rudy Gobert on the floor together in that front line, and it's like all arms just everywhere, and it would just be really, really difficult to handle. But it's going to be really interesting. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we get a pretty quick set of action here in late June where we find out where all these guys land. But Colin, I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight. It was good to see you. Everyone who's hanging out here on the YouTube stream, we are heading over to Playback, so that's playback.tv/hoops tonight. We're going to be hanging out for an extra hour here after the show, taking callers and stuff. Colin, it was great to see you, man.
Great to see you, buddy.